Yeah, so we had sports are back. Currently they've been back for a couple months now. It's been great having them back, but there's been a lot of conversations around whether or not they should be back, right? So even going back to, late June, early July, we saw a lot of athletes opt out of participating in professional sports. Most notably, I would say, is Natasha Cloud of the Washington Mystics. You had Elena Delle Donne, who, decided not to play for health reasons with COVID. So you kind of have this we'll call it storm of COVID and social justice issues that a lot of players have been like, you know what, I'm not playing this year. And I think it has implications of the bigger picture, especially when you're looking at the political climate in this country. What stood out to me were the number of players that were like, hey, I'm not going to play because of what's going on in the country when it comes to the way Black lives are treated. So that was a big stand. Kind of didn't see it coming, but I'm happy that you have people out there who are consistently fighting day to day. If you don't do so already, I encourage you to follow Natasha Cloud on Instagram. Great content. She's speaking out, doing the work daily. So that's great to see. Another person I've been thinking about, because there's been two sides of the story, is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie initially was one to say, hey, don't go to the bubble. Let's not play. Let's instead focus on fighting for social justice. So Kyrie was like, listen, don't go to the bubble. Like, let's just focus on social justice. And, so some people was like, yeah, let's not go. And then, you had another camp that's like, no, let's go. Let's get on national television and, really use that platform to elevate the movement. Otherwise, you got to rely on individual players, their social media and things like that, but nothing nationally televised. So NBA, was like, okay, cool. We'll put Black Lives Matter on the court. We'll have slogans on the back of jerseys. And, one thing that I was saying, I was like, players, when they're asked about the game, they should just, comment on things that's going on. Like, put pressure on people to arrest the cops to kill Breonna Taylor, demand justice, talk about these issues instead of talking about the game. And players like Jaylen Brown, Chris Paul, LeBron James, and so many others, they did exactly that. And I was like, that's what we need. But then, we had a more recent event happen with the Jacob Blake shooting. And, players ended up walking out. Which I thought was also a good move. I kind of personally wanted to play out a little differently, but Dad, I guess I'll go back to Kyrie Irving. Were you familiar with that, or did you have any thoughts on his position? And I'll tell you why I kind of questioned his position too.
I think both ways, but I think them going to play and standing up and talking like you saying through the games and all like that. I think that's more better, a better approach. Mm-hmm. Because more people can hear what people have to say.
Right.
I wasn't, like, in the beginning, I wasn't really for it. But then after I started following it more and more and start being open to the players talking and what they was doing, then I'm starting to understand it and get a better understanding of why I think that way is better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that it's the platform. So you look at how many people follow these people on Instagram, which is probably the biggest social media platform today. It's like that number's a decent size, right? But if you look up, if you compare that number to the number of people tuning in to TNT, especially during that first round of the playoffs, where it was almost like March Madness. You had 1 o'clock game, 4 o'clock game, 7 and a 9:30. You look at those numbers and I'm sure they don't compare to each other. So I think it definitely was a good move. And, there's a lot of eyes on basketball because there's not much else for people to watch right now. But, the reason I questioned Kyrie's motives a little bit was because I don't know if he would say the same thing if he was healthy and if he had KD and the Brooklyn Nets were a title contender, if he would have that same stance. And I guess the only reason I question that is because, I've questioned Kyrie's leadership in the past. Like, look, when he went to Boston, leadership, I believe in basketball, leadership kind of translates on and off the floor. So when you display selfishness at times, I can't help but question it. And I could be wrong, but, if I will commend him because he did donate money to help WNBA players who couldn't play or, wouldn't play during COVID, which I thought was a very admirable move of him. I just always wonder if he would have the same stance if he was healthy and the Brooklyn Nets could actually make a legit title run.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good point in what you were saying. I think Kyrie's heart is in the right place. I don't always think that everybody can lead in a way that leadership should be led. You really have leaders, but like you said, on and off the court. I believe he's on the court leader more than off the court. And like you said, that showed in Boston.
See, I thought in Boston, even, on the court, his leadership struggled. But I guess nonetheless, I'm happy with what he's doing. He definitely was speaking up. Haven't seen much from him lately, but I know early on he was pretty vocal and, supporting WNBA players, which I thought was great. But then, we had the Jacob Blake shooting. You had first the Toronto and Boston, talking about boycotting their games, and then Milwaukee didn't take the court against their game against Orlando to boycott what was going on in their home state. And so, Kyrie came back up again. People was like, see, Kyrie tried to tell y'all. And I was like, no, I was like, this is actually, almost perfect that eyes are on the sport, because right now, at that moment, we were in position to take something fully away, right? Like, if those players leave that bubble, imagine the statement that would have made. And for people who aren't familiar, Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back by police officers in Kenosha, Wisconsin, about a week or so ago. And it sparked riots in that area. And, NBA players definitely was like, hey, this is, slogans on our back of our jerseys, Black Lives Matter on the court. It simply isn't enough. And so, they had a walkout and demanded change from the league. Dad, what were your thoughts on the Jacob Blake shooting?
As you say, and I think that is, but I thought that they might have should have stood a little bit longer and held out a little bit longer than just the one night or the one game. Because like I said, I think that did touch, and I think it needs to take time and let people know how serious this matter is. And for them, like you're saying, they can reach so many people. Like, some people listen to them more than they'll listen to just somebody talking on the news. Because like they say, athletes can touch more lives. And like you said, with all the sports, because baseball and all of them took off. Right. But I just think that we needed to do it a little bit longer and let them know that we are serious about what we're doing and what we stand for.
I agree. I'm 100% on board with that. So, I guess diving a little bit into the Jacob Blake incident, police were called out to the scene. They were, asking him questions, things like that. And, he made a move to go to his car. And, the moment he kind of reaches in his car, the officer, in my eyes, kind of nonchalantly fired 7 shots into his back, right? And so, I was having a conversation with somebody, and it was like, why did he even go to the car? I'm like, I don't know, right? But, at the end of the day, it was like, what did the police officers do to even keep him from getting to the door of the car, right? Like, you let him walk all the way around. There's like 3 or 4 of you. No one tackled him to the ground. Like, I didn't even really see an effort to try to pull him from out of the vehicle once he got the door open. It was just like, nope, I'm going to fire 7 shots at point blank range in your back, and now we got a man paralyzed.
You're right. They could have tased him. I don't. You know what? I don't see why they didn't tackle him before he went to the car.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But you know what? I also gotta say, in situations like that, we gotta be smarter because we know what cops do. So now we gotta take ourselves. Like, you know what? We know that they'll kill you. I mean, every cop is not a bad cop. Everyone's not bad. But you know what? You can't take that chance. You know, you can't roll the dice. You know what? If a cop tell me to stop, I'm stopping. I'm not going to try to resist. I'm not going to say smart stuff back to him. I'm not going to do that. It comes a time when you can do that. I see, you know what? And it's so crazy because, like, you know what? There's no excuse. How can you shoot somebody 7 times in the back? You know, once he got in the car, you might well let him go. Get him some other time. It was no cause to shoot him.
The only thing I'll say is that, like, I get it. Like, definitely, you know, there's things we can do to protect ourselves. But the fact still remains that you can do everything right and still be killed. For more of this conversation, check out the No Stopping Kev Show anywhere you listen to podcasts.